Hello and welcome back to part 9 of this Dark Souls guide and playthrough. Today we are going somewhere that we've been before. We are going straight to return to the Undead Asylum. And you might be wondering, why are you going back to the asylum? Is it to give Snuggly the Crow something? Exchange something for Snuggly the Crow? That's how you get. I am currently taking the path towards our return to the asylum, so if you're following this guide, do exactly what I'm doing. If you are running the game at 60 frames per second and by using DS Fix, you can't do the rolls that you can't do the first roll I did. It's essential that you pick this key up. Without this key, our return to the asylum is pointless. So ensure that you pick the Undead Asylum F2 West key up. Yeah, the first roll, and come over here. You're going to see how easy it is to fall off of here. Just make sure you don't make the same mistake I made. I'm actually glad it's given me a wee bit more time to discuss things, because there's a lot of lore and a lot of different wee things to cover in this episode. Even though the strategy and the mechanics have taken on, the enemies in Undead Asylum are similar to what we've experienced before. Yes, that actually happened. That was a mistake. I'm getting really frustrated at this point. But adds a bit of comedic levity to the episode, so I just thought I'd keep it in. Yeah, just run against the wall. This is the jump you can't make, running at 60 frames per second. You just fall short. It's the way that the game's jump mechanic or something's calculated. So if you've not picked the key up, go and do that just now. You go in the path below. You come up here, and roll off. If you have got the key, come up here. And this is how you proceed to go back. The crow will take you back to the asylum. I think the reason it should have happened by now, but the reason it's not is because I think with the camera being on the crow, I think it won't do it. There you go, once you start moving the camera, sequence begins. While this is happening, I want to just point out a couple of things that I was wrong about in the previous episode. First of all, I apologise for not going back. The Dark Knight, the Black Knight that was in the Undead Asylum, Undead Burg that we took on, he was guarding a ring. Its name's the Blue Tearstone Ring. It increases your defensive capabilities when you're at 20% or less health. It's not a ring I'm interested in, but if you are, you know where to find it. It's behind that Black Knight. I'll come back to the second mistake I made in a second. You can see that things have changed in the asylum since we've been away. It's now guarded by torch hollows, whereas before it was just your normal hollows that were out here. So something's changed. Now it's very important when you run through here, do not run along the middle of the room. Come to the either side of the room. That's very, very important. Again, more defensive reinforcements in this room. The first time we were here, there were no hollows in this room. Come out and tag the bonfire. That's the most important thing to do just now. I'm going to fast forward. The reason being is that I died. You'll notice that I'm wielding a different weapon. This weapon is a bandit knife. We picked it up when we were taking on undead assassins in the lower Undead Burg in the previous video. What this weapon does is it's actually got a bleed effect. So we're straight into a boss fight. That's why you don't run along the middle of the room. I'm going to come and pick my souls up. Now this is the stray demon. This is the one that we seen when we were leaving our cell. He's like the asylum demon, obviously. He's got a lot more health and he's a lot more difficult. I'm actually kind of at low level to be taking this guy on just now. I want an item before we go into the depths and Blighttown. So this guy is susceptible to bleed damage because he's not armoured. So the bandit knife is brilliant because it's light and allows us to make loads of swings without taking up lots of stamina. The key to the fight with this guy is, the key to defending yourself against this guy at this a low level like this, or at any level in fact, is to keep behind him. That area of effect magic attack is pretty deadly. It's likely to one-shot me maybe. He also wields an axe, which you can see in his hand just now. If that connects with me at this point, I'm dead. So don't get too far away from him if you're facing him head on, although I would never recommend that you do that. Because that axe will take you out, one-shot you, at this level anyway. So you just want to keep doing this, getting his health down bit by bit. You can see that 1 or 2 wee slashes with the knife doesn't really affect him that badly, but it's when the bleed effect takes hold, you can see it takes a massive chunk of his health out. You can actually pick up a couple of items to help you in this fight. You can get the crest shield. The problem is that the crest shield can only be found in the asylum, I believe, and then you have to take a different path around the asylum and not engage this fight until you've picked the crest shield up. We'll talk about the crest shield. I'll point out where you can get it from later on in this video. The other item you can pick up is Incense Fortress, and that's from the Crestfallen Merchant. That's the one, the guy that's you have to make the jump over across the broken pathway. The one that kind of mocks your attempts to get to Anor Londo. There you go, look, it nearly took me out. So I don't want to die again because I've died to him once or twice already. But yeah, you can pick up an item, just returning to the other item that I was talking about. You can pick up this item called the Stone Plate Spell Ring or something. It's similar to the Stone Plate Poison Ring and Bleed Ring and Blood Ring, in that it basically increases your magic defense. But honestly, as long as you stay behind this guy and you're not too close to him when he does his AoE attack, you shouldn't really need a ring or a shield. As you can see, I'm using my grass crest shield. When he does this floaty ass attack, you can just get out of the way of that. That's not a problem whatsoever. You can see I'm now down to my last Estus flask. But I'm determined to kill this guy. There we go. One more round of attacks, and I should be able to take him down. You just got to be careful, especially because I've got no Estus flask left. Now, I could get a wee bit too overzealous here, because you only get a dribble of health left. But yeah, you're going to pick up a couple of good items from this guy. Most important of all is the Titanite Slab. That is the highest upgrade item you can get along the normal upgrade path. So it's to upgrade items from plus 14 to plus 15. So like say a sword. And there's a big difference between plus 14 and plus 15. Now I'll change back to my halberd because you'll see that the asylum has been reinforced with better guards. There's no longer any tepid hollows roaming around mumbling to themselves. It's now black knights that we'll have to face if we want to progress through the asylum. And it's interesting that there are black knights here Some people have wondered what, are they here to stop you from picking up an item? Are they here to just basically defend the asylum because you escaped from it? Now you can see I equipped the alluring skull, and it didn't have any effect against this guy whatsoever. Remember, the alluring skull is supposed to attract the enemies, and it leaves them vulnerable to your attack. But I believe Black Knights are invulnerable to the effects of the alluring skulls, so kinda pointless trying it out against him. So don't make the same mistake I made. I'm trying to get my backstabs in this guy. I just want to take him out as quickly as possible. I've had to switch over to my humanity because I don't have any Estus flasks left, and popping a humanity will restore your health. But it's not the most efficient way of... It just seems like a waste of humanity when you do that sometimes. But I suppose we're only 8. I'm not getting my... And it doesn't really matter because we want to get soft 10 humanity anyway for the maximum item drain. But yeah, you can see that narrow corridors or narrow spaces make fights against knights, Black Knights, more difficult. Bad timing, but I didn't die, so it wasn't wasted. But you can see that, yeah, Black Knights, not particularly difficult as I've said before, especially if you can parry and riposte. I'm just a bit reluctant to do that in this corridor because, and I don't want to die, I just want to go forward. So backstabs are the safest bet for me if I can manage to pull one off. And I do. He unfortunately is not dead. I think this Black Knight has a bit more health than some of the other Black Knights that we've encountered so far. Could be wrong about that, but he seems to. And he's down. And he was guarding a very, very interesting item. This is actually the first corridor that we encountered in the game. So this is actually the cell that we originally escaped from. And you can see we picked up an item called the Peculiar Doll. And that actually belongs to an NPC called Priscilla, Crossbreed Priscilla. And now to understand what's going on here, you have to know a bit about the painted world of Ariamis. There was once an abomination who had no place in this land, or whatever it said, and that is referring to Crossbreed Priscilla. So Crossbreed Priscilla has this ability called Life Hunt. There's this area in the game called, it's known as Ariamis, the painted world of Ariamis, and all the gods of Lordran put any items or beings who were posed a threat to the gods into this painted world, made it an asylum of sorts, a prison of sorts. And it's interesting that her doll is found in that cell. Some people have speculated, I think there's a number of speculations surrounding how it got there since we left the cell. Some people have speculated that since we've already found out from Solaire that time is distorted in Lordran, that possibly maybe Priscilla was in our cell at one point and that she abandoned her doll there or had to leave it behind. I've also heard other theories that Velka, who's the god of sin in this game, wants to punish the gods. The gods have created sin by killing the everlasting dragons at the start of the game. That myth is explained to the player. And Velka, through the crow, there's a connection perhaps between Velka and the crow that brings you here and takes you here, away from here. That perhaps Velka has witnessed your destructive path through Lordran and has decided to punish the gods via you. So you're a proxy for her wrath against the gods. Another Black Knight, again a very narrow corridor in which to fight him, which makes it a pain in the ass. I'm actually thinking to myself here, I can't be bored fighting him, but then I realise I can't go forward, I need to kill this guy first. Black Knights aggro for very far distances, so they're one of the few enemies in the game that will chase you for over long distances. Yeah, this place, and we'll eventually go there, the Painted World of Ariamis. You need the peculiar key to get there. That isn't the item that we've came here for, but we had to come here to pick it up eventually, so we might as well pick it up just now. But yeah, in this Painted World of Ariamis, you've got occult weapons, and occult weapons deal more damage to enemies like Black Knights, and even Lord Gwyn himself. Lord Gwyn being a god, he fears these occult weapons. You pick up the Dark Ember there, which allows you to upgrade these occult weapons. That's reminded me of the second mistake I made. The Black Knight weapons don't do increased damage to Black Knights. It's occult weapons that do increased damage to Black Knights. Black Knight weapons do increased damage to demons. Now you know this guy, we met him in the first video. This is Oscar of Astora. Well, it's an undead version of Oscar of Astora. You have to take him out. This was supposed to be your buddy in the game, but Solaire took that role over. Yeah, you were supposed to actually, I believe, end up fighting Oscar at the very end of the game, and I don't think he would have been this poor a fighter. I guess he would have been amped up a bit at the end. Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe FromSoft would have taken a different direction with him. Maybe he would intentionally be weak at the end. You can see he's performing fat rolls. His movement speed is really well reduced. You can see it makes it easy to strafe around him. He's not particularly difficult, but he can hit very hard, so be careful. This is the item, this is a shield that confers magic defensive capabilities on your character. So if you wanted to get that before you took on this Stray Demon, what you would do is you would just come round and up here, rather than going. You can see there's an item up there. Maybe that key we picked up in Firelink Shrine, that might help us to pick that item up, who knows. I'm just having a wee look around to see what else is around here. Then we can block this. No, you can't, I'm only joking. What's it talking about? Oh yeah, another theory I'd heard is that whoever's watching over you thought that the safest place, they don't want you ever going to the Painted World of Ariamis, because you could potentially unleash these dangerous weapons against the gods. Or you could unleash them into the world of Lordran and allow others to to use them against the gods. But what I've heard is, another interesting theory is that these whoever's watching over you decided that it's likely you would never return to this island once you left it. Therefore, the best place to put an item they don't want you to get is in the cell that you escape from. I mean, how many times does a prisoner go back to his original cell? Unfortunately, it's blown up in their faces. But this is the item that we're here to pick up. This is the Rusted Iron Ring. This ring, as it says it might give you the ability to gain footing in poor grounds such as swamps. And when we go to the depths, as the name implies, takes us lower and lower into the bowels of Lordran, and we might encounter swamps or sticky surfaces or whatever. That ring there makes places like Blighttown much less frustrating, and I recommend you coming here before you go to Blighttown. A lot of guides will actually suggest coming here after you've been to Blighttown, but as you can see, it wasn't that difficult for me. You just had to be careful. we're gonna... Sunlight Meadow. We are going to trade with Snuggly the Crow. I want to be able to show you guys how that works. We picked up rubbish, remember, in the Undead Burg in the first video, or second video, and I said that you could trade with Snuggly. He said, I remember remarking about what's the point in picking rubbish up, but yeah, you can trade with Snuggly, and you get a Titanite chunk in return for giving her
give me
rubbish.
warm, give me soft.
So we'll do that. What you do is you drop the item in her nest. So go down to it, bring up the item menu, drop it. There you have to quit the game and reload. And when you reload and re-enter the game, the item will be sitting there waiting for you in her nest. The item that you get back in return.
Give me.
So there you go, you get a chunk. Chunks are used to upgrade weapons between 10 and 14. The Painted World of Ariamis is actually the first area that was created for Dark Souls. A lot of people don't realise that, they think maybe it was the Undead Asylum or whatever, but no. They spent a long time developing the Painted World of Ariamis, and it's the reason it's one of the best areas in the game. It's definitely one of my favourites. So we're back at Firelink Shrine. Now that we've picked up the Rusted Iron Ring, we're going to take on the Capra Demon in the next video. And after the Capra Demon, we're going to go to the Depths and eventually Blighttown. And who knows, maybe the second Bell of Awakening's down there. Anyway, I hope this video's been helpful and interesting for you. And please tune in for the next one. Bye.